All right.
Okay, let's get started. Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining us from around the country and from Israel today. My name is Saul Isabram. I'm National Board President of Jewish National Fund USA. And we here at JNF USA are always thinking about our friends and family. And today, as we monitor the unfolding events in Israel, is no different. Our hearts are with our brothers and sisters in Israel, and we hope for a safe and speedy conclusion to this operation. Bear with us this morning. There's been a lot of moving parts. We had sort of a schedule arranged, which might have to alter because some people are sheltering in place and don't have access to the internet, who were going to help address us this morning. So we had scheduled Colonel Richard Heck. I'm not sure if the Colonel is on with us. He is the International Media Branch from the Israeli Defense Forces. There was some question whether in the last few minutes whether he'd be able to make a connection. So since there's over 300 people on this Zoom, I can't see everyone on one screen to see if the Colonel is here. Maybe Gary knows, he's recognized the name.
No, so the colonel is not here. We're waiting for him. He got stuck under the rocket attack in Gaza. So we will start with Michal Uziyahu.
Okay, so then we'll hear from Michal Uziyahu, who is our very dear friend and Director of Development in Israel and a resident in the Eshkol region of the Gaza envelope. So Michal, if you could take it over.
Thank you, Sol. Do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Thank you. So I'm sorry if I look a little bit too tired. It's been a rough 2 days with the sleepless nights. But before we start, I do want to say a few words about, if you haven't heard updates about the Gaza envelope, just to give the perspective. What we are dealing with and many of the lay leaders experience in recent days here, since after the amazing Israel at 75th mega mission of JNF, USA, this is what we call the emergency routine. Emergency routine is something, it's our reality in the last more than 20 years. My kids, my oldest daughter is 18 years old. My twin boys are 17. They don't know any other reality. An emergency routine means that sometimes it can be a completely beautiful day, quiet day, and a second from that moment, it can be 200 rocket or 5 rocket. It can be infiltration. It can be balloons and kites with explosives. Many different elements of emergency that we live, and many times when people are talking about the Gaza envelope, they are talking in terms of PTSD. There is hardly PTSD in the Gaza envelope because there is no P in our equation. It has nothing to do with post. It's an ongoing experience that we are living day by day. And the reason it's important to emphasize it, it's because it has other symptoms. And if we are talking about being tired and being tired from life and not having hope, this is part of the symptoms that you will see among many people of the Gaza envelope, and we are fighting it. One of the amazing things that were created in the Gaza envelope since 2008 was the Resilience Center. And the Resilience Center pay attention to the terms that we demand to call it. We don't call it a trauma center. It's a place that deals with resiliency. And this is all about the Jewish spirit.
Michal,
We could feel sorry for us.
Michal, just to interrupt you, the Colonel has joined us.
Oh.
So let's flip over to the Colonel and then we'll come back to you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So Colonel Hecht, if you're available,
Can you all hear me?
yes.
Okay, I'm standing right now outside of Sderot. We just had a red alert right over my head. I'm in a bus station where there's all the soldiers are behind me in a protected area. Pretty intense. We were down in Sderot with Fox News, trying to sort of understand where we are. And I want to give you a very quick update. If there's more alerts, I'll have to leave you and run back into the shelter. That's another one I have to run back in.
Okay, so as you can see, as I mentioned, this is a very fluid situation. So we'll go back to Michal.
Hi. So what I was saying was that this resilience center concept that was created is from a state of mind that we shouldn't focus in the bad moments. We shouldn't focus on the trauma. We always say life on the border with Gaza is 95% heaven and 5% hell. And if we will focus on the 5%, it becomes 100%. If you focus on the trauma, what defines you is trauma. And if you focus in resiliency, when trauma comes, you are resilient enough to deal with it. And the day-to-day life that you have, you're not defined by the trauma, but by your resiliency. And this is something that you guys, Jewish National Fund, are helping us to do. Now, let's go into what we are dealing with right now.
Okay,
And I see the colonel is almost with us. Yeah.
Okay,
So let him start, and then I will give you an update from the civilian side.
okay.
So I see you could probably hear and see the Iron Dome interceptions and hear the explosion behind me. So this is where we are right now. And I'll give you a very quick update on where we are right now. So 2 days ago, we kicked off an operation called Shield and Arrow. It was focused on 3 jihadist operatives in Gaza. Bahetini, who took over as the northern commander of Islamic Jihad, and he was directing fires already all the way back to the Ramadan timeframe. Azal-Din, he was a very, very high-ranking Islamist. He was focused on moving rocket capabilities from Gaza to Judea and Samaria. The third guy is a very senior committee member. Once we had these guys, our goals were achieved. Now, what was different here was that they didn't respond because they were caught in surprise. We surprised them. We waited after Ramadan a few days and surprised the enemy. We surprised them and it took them a while to respond. Yesterday or earlier this morning, we saw Islamists preparing launches and we went on the preemptive again. I sent in a video, whoever follows my Twitter, you see operatives trying to organize launches. One of our UAVs shot them down, and then we had another massive barrage towards Israel. And what you're seeing now is that tit for tat that is going on right now. I know there was rumors about a ceasefire, but in the end, it's not over till it's over. And right now you can see the dynamic here. I'm here with my soldiers. We left Sderot a while ago, and the night is still early. It'll be interesting. So I'll leave the computer open. You'll see probably some Iron Dome interceptions behind me. It's pretty advanced. I know the Air Force right now is attacking in Gaza to trying to hunt down the rocket launchers. Just want to call out my brother Jay Lipman. I hope he's here in the group, and a great friend and a great supporter also of JNF. That's all I have for you in a nutshell. We're not in a very sterile surroundings.
Well, thank you so much, Colonel. Look, Typically, we'd open it up for questions and answers. We're not going to do that.
We can do that until there's another round.
Okay, good. So then we'll try our best to recognize anybody. If you can either use your little reaction button or raise your hand, although there's almost 400 people, over 400 people, that it'll be hard to recognize. But if somebody wants to raise their hand or put up their little reaction button at the bottom, we'll go ahead and respond and ask questions. Gary, are you able to see anybody?
Yes, I can see, and also they can feel free to post their question in the chat. Someone does have their hand raised.
Okay, now the question is, how far into Israel are missiles reaching?
So right now, the Hamas aren't in this campaign yet. So there was one long ranger that arrived to the south part of Tel Aviv. The vicinity of attacks was mainly the south, Ashkelon, Ashdod, a bit near Palmachim, Gadera. There was one rocket that managed to get to the south part of Tel Aviv. Oh, by the way, it was intercepted by David Sling for the first time, which is it's usually Iron Domes. But again, these are not Hamas. Hamas isn't in the campaign yet. And we're trying to keep Hamas out of it. If Hamas goes in, it's a different ballgame. We'll see what happens now with our response to the Gaza Strip. We're looking at the Gaza Strip now. So if activity kicks out, we'll see it.
Okay, so we have many questions, but again, we'll do your time frame, obviously. The question is, have there been any injuries that you know of?
So there's been injuries on both sides. There were some injuries in, I don't know what happened in the last barrage. I still haven't had the time to read the news. I was driving out of Sderot. I'm sure there's some, that was a pretty intense the last hour. Right now, no injuries on our side. There was some shock, people that had shock and some light injuries last week. And again, of course, you're hearing about the collateral damage in Gaza from our pinpointed attacks. And we did the utmost best to minimize it, but we wanted to take these guys out. These are some bad guys.
Gotcha. And there was a question about whether you expect any activity up north.
So we're ready for all options. We're deployed everywhere. You saw during Ramadan, there was some missiles that came from a Palestinian faction from Tyre, southern of Tyre. We're ready in the north too. But again, right now, our focus point is Islamist jihad in Gaza.
I see a hand raised from Martin Rosengarten. If you would unmute yourself and ask the Colonel the question.
Why are we using the Sling as opposed to the Patriot? And which missile is cheaper to produce?
So that's a hard question. First of all, the David Sling is quite a new system, so we want to try and understand its capabilities. I can't say beyond that. Patriot isn't focused on this area. Patriot is mainly in the north. The Patriot is mainly focused against air-breathing threats like planes, not against missiles. We don't have the PAC-3, like we have the PAC-2, which are the older versions of the Patriot. We have our homemade systems against rockets and missiles.
There's another question. Have the reserves been called up?
So we have approval for some reserves, mainly Iron Dome and Air Force, and also some, we're beefing up our staffs a bit, but let's see how the night goes.
Gary, do you see any other hands? I don't see him at the top of the screen. Oh,
Yes, Norman.
Schneider. Can you unmute yourself, Jackie?
Norman, it was first, Norman.
Okay, Norman, could you unmute yourself?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Why were these three terrorist leaders not taken out in the past?
Well, Norman, listen, it's a never-ending game. Anyone that you take, I promise you that they already have 3 people waiting in line to replace them.
Mhm.
Right? This is a dynamic that we're having with Gaza Strip. I'm sure you know about it very well. We're trying to contain it. When we see imminent activity, we'll hunt them down. If they're quiet, it will be quiet.
Thank you.
And Jackie Schneider, please unmute yourself. Okay,
I don't see her.
I don't see Jackie. Is there anybody else, Gary, that you can
Ruth
recommend?
Ann.
Excuse me?
Ruth Ann. Ruth Ann.
Ruth
I
Ann?
don't, yes, I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you for helping to keep the people of Israel safe and for all the work that you do on behalf of everyone. I just, and may everybody not be hurt during this particular activity. And just thank you so much for all that you do for Israel.
Ruth,
And
thanks for
Ruth
your
Ann,
support.
we can endorse that with our 600,000 followers of JNF USA are all behind Ruth Ann's comments. One last thing is if Sam Goldberg is here, he may not have his hand raised, and I hope he doesn't mind me calling on him. He's our good friend, national board and president at the Mountain States region. And Sam is in Israel. I was with him last week with he and his wife and Lauren and I. Sam, if you want to make a comment since you're there, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, presently in Tel Aviv, so certainly not in the south. And my best wishes to everyone down there. I'm sure it's not easy right now. I can say though, an alert did go off in Tel Aviv, and I'm not sure I've ever quite had an experience quite like this, because as a father, with my two daughters of 4.5 and 3 years old in preschool in Tel Aviv, my wife and I were about 30 minutes away from the school. What we did not anticipate was when the alert went off that there was an instant traffic jam. Everyone trying to get home immediately. Taxis weren't available. We don't have a car here, so we're relying on the taxis. After a while, we were very fortunate to catch one. And when we finally got to the school, the kids were all taken to the preschool's bomb shelter, and the teachers had locked the door, which is a thick metal door to the bomb shelter. And so I had to bang on the door really loudly. And when they opened, and by the way, the preschool sent out an alert also at the same time the general alert went out that you need to pick up your kids right now. That is, to put it lightly, a disconcerting message to get at any time. In the US, you might get it if they're sick or have a fever or something like that. But in this case, of course, it was dramatically different, because there were inbound missiles. And fortunately, the missiles headed to Tel Aviv were intercepted by Iron Dome, but nobody knows that in real time. And so when we did get to the school, which took a while because of the traffic, and on the way, like brainstorming on how we're going to get our girls from the school to the Airbnb where we're staying as safely as possible. But when we got there, like the look of fear on the teachers' faces. I mean, the kids were all together playing. So from their perspective, like this was, just a playtime or something like that. But the look of fear on the teachers' faces is not something I'll soon forget. And as I was banging on this door, they opened the door, they kind of shove my daughters out. I mean, not like roughly, but like get them out. They're about to slam the door right as another parent arrives, and look of fear on that parent's face is also something you don't soon forget, because you realize like maybe I'm not as scared as I should be, given the gravity of this situation, and recognizing that when everyone is, think about it like this. When all the animals start running in one direction, like with a tsunami coming or something, like you should run in that direction. And it's not that dissimilar when everyone's like running to get home and get the heck out and get to safety. You need to do the same exact thing. And it's not really something that we're accustomed to do in the US. Now, I will say this as well, now that I've kind of shared our not so dramatic not nearly as scary as it is in the south, with so many missiles being rained in from Gaza, and mortars too, from what I understand. But I will say this, Israel is our home. If you're Jewish, this is our home, and there ain't no amount of missiles that's going to change that. And yes, it's absolutely scary. It's absolutely alarming. But we're here, and as the colonel called out, like, if they're going to cause trouble, like, they're going to go get them. And hopefully there's quiet. Rumors are that a ceasefire has been agreed on for about 45 minutes from now, and hopefully that sticks. And
Sam, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I have to run. I'm in a very bad area, and I just want to thank everyone here. JNF is strong in our hearts, and I thank you for your friendship and support. It means a lot to us. Tel Aviv is a walk in the park compared to Sderot. I was in Sderot right now, and I had firing over my head, very, very intense. I have a very frightened young soldier here. So we're going to move towards Tel Aviv. Sam, thanks for your powerful words. I have to leave.
Okay, thank you, Colonel. Be safe, and we're thinking about you. Sam, any last comment before there's a couple other things we want to get to?
No, so I think I really covered it. But I do want to reiterate that it's clear the resolve of the people here is extremely strong. And my family, our resolve is extremely strong. We have no desire to go home. We have no desire to leave. And certainly our support is with the IDF and the people of the South in their resilience and weathering this hopefully very temporary storm.
Okay, Sam, be safe. We're thinking about you, and we'll be in touch hopefully later today. Let's say I don't know if Russell, I can't see, but if somebody wants to give a brief update on our students at Alexander Muss High School and the status there, and then we'll get back to Michal. Brian Werner, are you familiar with what
Steve is on? Steve is on.
Oh, Steve is on. Okay. Steve,
Sorry, there we go. I'm unmuted.
Yeah,
So,
no, I was checking on something else. So I'm sorry, I missed the question.
okay, Steve, first introduce yourself and the position you have, and also the question was, you know, what's the status of our students at Alexander Muss?
Okay, so I am the head of school for the Alexander Muss School. We have about 300 students in the country. We had a group of students that just until a couple of nights ago was staying near Sderot. In the middle of the night, after the IDF took out the Islamic jihadists, at 3 a.m., they were awoken and they were relocated to Netanya. I think they thought it was quite the adventure. We didn't know how quickly there was going to be a response from Gaza, but all of that was worked seamlessly with our partner organizations, that happened to be a partner school as well. The bus company was there. Everybody got moved safely to the north. We had another group that was scheduled to be in Beersheba. We moved them a little bit further east to Arad, where they did some community service work. And right now, most of our groups are in Hod HaSharon or further north. So we have a group in Sfat, a group doing Yam LaYam, and another group, I'm trying to remember where everybody is. In any case, they are all accounted for. We have two groups that are still on campus. They're most concerned about missing their free weekend. They are supposed to have an open weekend this weekend. And they came to me and they said, can you not cancel the free weekend? And I said, that's largely not going to be in my hands because we are first and foremost going to make sure that the students are safe. So if the rockets do continue beyond this tentative ceasefire, we are likely to cancel the free weekend in order to make sure that all of those students stay on campus in a safe environment where we know where the shelters are, where they know where the shelters are, and they could get to them quickly. We have not heard any sirens in Hod Sharon. The students don't know, but there were the sounds of the Iron Dome missile batteries, but they don't know what to listen for, so they probably didn't even notice it. And those were probably shooting down the rockets aiming at Tel Aviv. But otherwise, all is good here. As far as, and I am scheduled to take one of our board members to the Beersheba campus tomorrow, and I'm monitoring, that's why I was on my cell phone, what's going on in Beersheba and whether or not it will be a wise decision to go down there today or maybe sometime next week.
All right, Steve, thanks. We're going to, please stay on, Steve, but we're going to move back to Michal in case she needs to leave and take care of her family business. Michal, could you pick up where you left off?
Yeah, thank you. So what I was about to say in terms of this specific event that we are going through, that we can talk about the last 48 hours, but we should look at on the perspective also from Passover Eve, while we were having the Gaza envelope communities, while we were having the Seder units of Palestinians along the border with Gaza, were creating explosions. They didn't shoot rockets, by the way. It was just using explosives just to try to ruin the celebration, the Jewish celebration that we all were trying to go through as a family, as a community, and also after Passover, the amazing celebration of Yom HaAtzmaut. And after the mega mission was done, the Gaza Envelope Task Force members came to visit us, and again they experienced from firsthand the movement from such a beautiful, wonderful day, from a moment of preparing cocktails in the amazing Groove Tech, to suddenly rushing into the shelter. And so a few days ago, it started with this 24 hours of intensity, of a lot of stress, and this event that we are experiencing in the last 48 hours. You should understand that several days ago, when they launched more than 100 rockets in one afternoon toward our communities, it was just exactly during the time that we are sending all the kids from schools back home. This is not a coincidence. This is something that is very well planned on their hand, because we are talking about terrorism. The purpose is to terrorize our communities. And once this was over and we managed also to evacuate the Gaza envelope taskers somewhere else, many of them wrote us, about on one hand feeling, I won't say satisfaction, but they experience what we are going through, but then looking back and leaving Israel and looking back at us and understanding that this is our day-to-day life. 2 nights ago, just while trying to celebrate Lag BaOmer, the teenagers were out there celebrating with bonfires and really having wonderful night. Yesterday was supposed to be a vacation day, and around 2:30 a.m. suddenly, when Israel decided to use this great opportunity to kill 3 mega terrorists that are really terrorizing our life for many years, and one of them 20 years ago murdered a mother and her 4 children in Gush Katif before we left Gush Katif. And these people are bad people, and the IDF decided to do it, and we are so proud of the IDF. But just the understanding that our communities are paying heavy price for everything that is going through. We are the soft belly of Israel, and in the middle of the night, while most parents are asleep, I was asleep, hearing explosions, not knowing where your kids are. And now the head of securities need to rush through the fields of the Gaza envelope to look for each and every group of teenagers and to rush them back home. And this is how it started. And from that moment, almost 48 hours of not knowing what will happen. And there is a specific intelligence knowing that there is anti-missile, anti-tank rockets that the jihadic Islam are trying to aim towards civilian cars on our main road, which means we are in lockdown. We are in the communities. We cannot live. People cannot leave their homes. And now we are going into this session, and only recently, if several hours ago, more than 300 rockets were launched toward the Gaza envelope. Several of them hit kindergarten, and thank goodness we evacuated many of the people from the communities that are right on the border. But our communities, this is how we struggle, and this is how we live 20 years, and you're just getting a bite of it. But I have to say, we always say that it feels like each emergency, we have another layer of skin is being peeled, and it becomes more and more sensitive. You know, from the first moment, and we are always saying it about JNF, you are with us. The reason that you managed to be with us during emergencies in such a magnificent way, it's because you're with us not only during emergencies, it's because you're with us the day before, and we know that we can rely on you the day after. But we need to understand when you will come here, and on my screen right now, I see Kathleen, but I know that we have other Gaza envelope members here in the Zoom, and they saw happy faces, happy children, happy parents, and yet in a second, everything changes. And in order to keep the smiles on the children's faces, in order to make sure that their parents are resilient enough to hold them, there are actions that we have to make. And we always say in emergency, the first thing that really makes a resiliency fragile is the sense of helplessness. Feeling helpless so many times in your life really cracks your resiliency. And the second thing is feeling that we are alone. We have to remind ourselves that we are going through this together. First of all, what I'm going through as a mother, my neighbor is going through the same thing. And the fact that I will make sure that people, mothers like I am, won't stay at home, but will go to the community shelter and will meet with other mothers, and my kids will see other kids, reminding ourselves that we will go through this together. But the other layer of the sense of we are not alone is you guys, Jewish National Fund, USA, that always remind us that we are not alone, and you are with us every step of the way. So what we are trying to create right now, even if the ceasefire will come through, is first of all to try and take, and this is something the Jewish National Fund are helping us every time in emergency, thanks to your support, is to take out people for respites. And if it's respites in the community, which means we are putting them in communities where we still have places to get together in a shelterized building, is to give them activities over there, whether it's arts and crafts or a nice a musician or something to help them to heal together. The second thing is going outside for respites outside, less than 24 hours. We have some communities that Israel, the government of Israel, evacuated them already. It's the communities that are on the 1.5 miles from the border with Gaza. But the rest of the people don't have evacuation plan. The rest of the people who cannot afford themselves or do not have shelters. We have still many families without a shelter in their house. My father, whenever the siren goes off, he just go and stand where it's the safest to stand in the house because he doesn't have a shelter. And my father is functioning. Think about people with muscles issues because of the stress, or elderly people, or welfare families. This is crucial. So we are trying to find also a way to evacuate them and give them a night or two outside of the Gaza envelope so they can breathe again, they can re-energize and bring back their resources, at least more than they have right now. We are still helping also with a lot of resiliency programs, and we want to remind you that Jewish National Fund are helping us a lot with shelters. We still have lack of shelters along the Gaza Envelope Task Force, and you have created an amazing project also of painting bomb shelters, but also helping us to build bomb shelters so people will feel safe, will have somewhere to run to. I want to close with saying that we're not only talking about physical shelter, we're talking about the emotional shelter. And the emotional shelter is knowing that we are not alone, that we have one another. Sam was talking about his experience in Tel Aviv. And Sam, we have a joke in the Gaza Envelope community that if we had a minute and a half like Tel Aviv, we would drink coffee on the way to the shelter. But we have 15 seconds, and this is crucial. The colonel before was speaking, Richard was talking about the new system, the new anti-rocket system that they were trying today. The Iron Dome is also an amazing system. And if you haven't heard me saying it before, I want to close with this. Iron Dome is amazing. It doesn't necessarily help our communities. We just had a rocket on a kindergarten today, as I said before, and in a house, hit a house in Sderot. For us, what is happening right now in this amazing Zoom with 360 participants, this is our Iron Dome. You are our Iron Dome, and I really want to say Toda Rabba to Jewish National Fund staff in Israel, and Toda Rabba to the amazing staff in United States, and Toda Rabba to you, the amazing partners, donors, but mostly partners, I feel, family of Jewish National Fund. Toda Rabba for taking your time in the middle of your day and hearing about what's going on here in Israel in the Gaza envelope.
So Michal, thank you so much. We were with you last week, hugging and having a good time. The situation has changed. We're going to close this out, but I just have to share this. I just got a text from a friend in Israel, and he said he sent a picture. I'm sure you won't be able to see this, but he sent a picture of people going into a bomb shelter that was built and painted by the Jewish National Fund, and it's the bomb shelter that my grandkids designed. It's the bomb shelter that we had supported for JNF. So that was the picture, the random picture. I can't help myself but to say, please, there's a lot of need from the JNF, as Michal said, not just in rough times, but we're there in good times too. We need more resilience centers. We need, like Michal said, more bomb shelters, building and painting of the bomb shelters to make it a little bit more joyful for the kids. If you have any desire to be part of this project, please reach out to your professionals. You can reach out to me, Russell, anybody that you're familiar with in JNF, and we'll be happy to let you know about what the opportunities are. So with that, I think we're going to close this out. I'm hoping, Michal, that we won't see you on another Zoom soon for this reason. But if there is another Zoom that we'll put together for this purpose, we'll reach out to you and hopefully you can update us. But hopefully we won't need that. So with everybody, thank you for joining. Our hearts and love are with everybody, all our brothers and sisters in Israel. Sam, stay safe and keep us posted. And if there is a need, or hopefully there won't be for another Zoom like this, we'll send out a notification. So Gary will end it, and thanks for your time.